How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to chaoschild. Now, before we do like a summary of what's going on here, basically, I guess I'll do that real fast. We snuck into this super secret basement inside this hospital, which, might as well just have another dozen secrets and secret organizations, right? Like, clearly, actually, this one looks like it's been here for a while, to be fair. But, like, this hospital's just going to be the nexus of all the weird stuff going on. But we managed to get through, had a bit of like a red herring where we had the delusion of a giant monster with a sumo head face that like killed Seneca and like was going to devour us, but it turned out to be a delusion, which I suspected is a artificial self-defense mechanism very similar to what the Noah 2 did. And now we're here, we're going to maybe get some answers, especially because this chapter is called Gigalomaniacs. So we're finally going to get some probably continuation of the story from the first part, like truly, like this is all continuation of that, but now we might start getting some real juicy details, which is very exciting. So before we start though, I want to dive a little bit. There's some news that's come out recently and I think it's really relevant. They announced that the super secret project, apparently that they were hiding, the side venture team was hiding, they did like a Steins ? It looks like it's Steins Gate remaster. So they had Steins Gate, which is a masterpiece. Then they had Steins Gate Elite, which was the same story with a few edits, but almost all the visuals were replaced or with slides from the anime or like adaptions of anime. Of slides from the anime. So like they took scenes from the anime or backgrounds and characters and changed them up, maybe changed the angle and enhanced the image a little bit, but basically just used that, which is really sad because they had a really cool art style that I loved that they then sacrificed for the anime, which the anime's fine, but it lost something there. And now they're doing it again, but the remastered version, which is going to have all new art, some new like music and stuff, but it's also gonna be like more animated. I'm guessing it's gonna be more like instead of a visual novel, it's a graphic novel or like something that has more like kind of asset movement and like modification during the playthrough, which sounds interesting. They also apparently are adding more scenes. So I guess that's the big pull, is supposed to be it's more content. But the thing that really caught everyone's attention is the fact that they've also put a blanket ban on any re-uploads or streaming of the content of the game. Now, will that ban hold out? Who knows? A lot of times the companies that put out bans like this, like I think Persona 5 did that when they came out, but usually they kind of rescind or lift the restrictions after like a year or so. But anyone who's potentially thinking about streaming or making content about it, don't do it. Don't do it. The fact we're playing this, like, I wanted to jump into Chaos Head and chaoschild years ago. The reason I didn't was because at one point, like, the people who run, like, the side venture group, I don't know if it was mages specifically or side venture themselves, but they actually went on a rampage, started taking down content online. It's around the time that guy who had uploaded, like, unedited, this like streamlined all the content from my like the Steins Gate romance one. What was it called? Oh crap! I know I would know it, but the only thing coming to my head is My Chemical Romance, which is not the right term. That's a band, but it's whatever it is. That romance game, like they uploaded the whole thing, like no commentary, no like let's play thing. It was just like the whole thing played out. That guy got sent to prison in Japan. And around that time, they started slamming all of my Steins Gate videos and were like this close to trying to shut down my channel. They didn't. I think it was because they couldn't. Not really. I think YouTube actually had an automatic system come in to like defend it because they were just kind of like, basically they were trying to channel strike every video. And after a couple, I think it stopped them from doing a mass like shutdown, which is good. But they tried it. So I didn't touch anything from them for a long time because of that. And I only started because I noticed other people were able to upload content and that they had like stopped being so ridiculous. And I think another company bought them out, so they had a new thing. But when they say things like, do not stream, we're going to do this, like, I think they're trying to do a blanket one. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they again go after my content on the YouTube channel, because they're going to start like just hunting down any of their content. It's probably not going to be restricted to the new game. And that's kind of scary, but we'll deal with it, I suppose. There's only so much I can do. Anyway, sorry about all that. Just wanted to get the PA out there, be like, hey, this is happening, but by the way, things could happen. Things could go sideways, so let's prepare for that. Anyway, let's jump right into this, shall we? So, we're exploring the super basement, and we might learn some interesting stuff down here. So I'm excited. And I wonder if we're ever going to actually meet the girl with the twin tails. But the thing is, like, when we saw her in, like, the flashback, she looked like a teenager then. So if we met her now, wouldn't she be an adult? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's go on and see what happens. The further down the hallway we went, the darker it got. Oh yeah, that's right. Like Mio, the science girl, who I think's really cool. She's also snuck down here, and it's really odd that that there happen to be other people sneaking down here at the same time as us. Like that made me worry. I was speculating that maybe we've been lured down here, and they're coordinating it somehow, like someone's manipulating us to be here. Anyway, further down the hallway we went, the darker it got. The lights were so sporadically placed that half of them were burned out. You had to look carefully to see more than a few meters ahead. The only thing I had to guide me were the black-haired girl in front of me and the wall that I was touching with my hand. The wall hadn't been repaired for a long time. The paint had fallen off in some places, and some of the steel beams underneath were exposed. This place must have been built a long, long time ago. We walked through the underground labyrinth as quietly as we could. None of my 5 senses were of any use to me now. I had no idea where I was or how I'd gotten there. But Kunosado-san seemed to know exactly where she was going. Looking back, maybe we were lucky to meet her here. I had no idea how long we'd been walking for, but we finally came to a part of the hallway with a row of doors on the opposite wall. The doors were made of steel, looked very strong. On the upper part of each one was what looked like a number plate. There were tiny windows on the doors, but they all had thick bars on them. They looked like the solitary confinement cells I'd seen on a TV show once. I wonder if this is an old asylum or psych ward, you know? A sanatorium. I don't know about that, man. The space beyond the bars was pitch black, and I couldn't tell if there was anything inside. Yeah, that's an understatement of the century. Shush. Ito quickly apologized, but Kunosado-san turned around, walked up to him, and wrapped her hand around his throat again. Did you guys notice how big of a smile he got right before that happened? Ito nodded again and again until she finally glared at him one last time and let him go. He put his hand to his throat and moaned a little. It was obvious that Kunosado-san wasn't messing around. Maybe this place was more dangerous than I thought. No way. Shut. Suddenly I heard a sound from someone pounding on the door from inside. Huh? Someone's inside. Shh. Do you all have a death wish? But... Wait, who screamed? A man. Okay. We almost screamed, but when we saw Kunosado-san's glare, we put our hands over our mouths. What the heck was that scream? Sedeka tugged frantically at my arm. Then Ito grabbed me onto me too. I also wanted to cling to someone, but there was no one for me to grab. I wonder, though. This place might be responding to fear. You know, like it's like a device that can read something that you're scared of and try and manifest it. So we had the big monster with the sumo face, which is what's making me think that, because like we know that because of like the weirdness that's been going on, that Taku and Seneca have like a kind of a baseline, more instinctual fear of the sumo stickers. And now, like as we're going down, Ito like mentioned like how creepy it was, and like the wondering thoughts of like, is someone inside? And then suddenly we see and hear someone inside, but is it real? Or is it just a manifestation of like a recent fear that we are expressing in our minds that's being weaponized?
Nani?
I looked over to where Ito was pointing and tried to see for myself, but I couldn't see anything.
気のせいだろ。いや、確かに見た。間違いなく目だった。
Whose eyes are those eyes? Oh. No way. Is she humming the crossing song? Like the one that we heard play on the phone in the first game? But she's actually singing the song? Also, by the way, I will say, while it's on the topic, I've been playing, I run RPGs with my friends. It's one of my favorite hobbies, is being a game master or a dungeon master. I play several games. I've been playing the Cosmere RPG one recently. It's a series of books I like, and the Cosmere RPG is actually fairly well made, and so we've been experimenting with it and trying it out. And I had an idea that was inspired by Chaos Head, where one of the characters has a kind of an uncanny ability to like a sixth sense of when somebody's like watching them. They have like that kind of instinct of like you're being watched, but they have it's enhanced a little bit because of their background and who they are. And so I've decided I'm going to mess with them a bit, and I'm basically going to try and recreate a similar feel of Chaos Head, of whose eyes are those eyes, like the way that Taku experienced it. That feeling that like occasionally, randomly, but especially when the interesting things are happening, that feeling of being watched and not knowing where it's coming from, looking around, not being able to see where it's coming from, but knowing it's there. I'm going to be doing that. Now, I have an in-game explanation for it, but I'm going to be trying to recreate some of that feeling that I was inspired to do based on these games, which is kind of fun. Anyway, sorry. Tangent galore today. Now there was singing. I could hear a girl singing in a tiny, barely audible voice. Creak, creak. Yeah, the longer this goes on, I think it's just a fear machine, like a fear defense mechanism that's just kind of activating based on our personal fears. A woman was pushing an old baby carriage down the hallway toward us. She was the one singing. Oh no. That's creepy. That's creepy. Shh. It's interesting. I'm trying to think of times when I've been scared. I guess I don't get scared easily. I love going to like haunted houses, but not for the haunted house's sake. I love going to like, oh, I'm going to sound so evil here. I love going with like, especially with friends, to watch them react. Like when people get really freaked out watching a scary movie or going to a scary haunted house, I find it hilarious. So I would go to haunted houses with friends all the time, and it would like, I would be laughing half the time. Now things would make me jump and I'd get startled, but I never screamed and never tended to panic. I might yell, and I have had times where like I reacted like, you know, with like getting the fists up kind of thing, but never like the panic that I think is going to happen here. But people's reactions in panic always made me laugh. I always thought that was just so interestingly funny, which is so kind of dark, because in real life, in real situations where scary, I wouldn't feel that at all. But When I know it's like in the back of my mind, when I know it's fake, I find it hilarious. It also made for a great date. There's nothing more fun than going on a big group date with a bunch of like, as a mix of guys and girls and going to a scary house. It's like, it's a good time. Seneca and Ito flinched in terror. My heart was beating so fast and so loud that I could hear the sound echoing in my ears.
止まれ。壁に張り付いてじっとしている。向こうにはこっちが見えていない。
How do you know that?
でも。いいから、喋るな。
Honestly, at this point, dude, why are you asking questions? Like, I understand. You have no basis to know why she knows this. I don't know either. But in the imminent threat that we see, and the fact that she seems to have a somewhat competent grasp of what's going on, maybe we take her advice and ask questions later. Kunosato-san pushed her back up against the wall and held her breath. We did the same, our bodies shaking with fear as we moved. Oh, I just had a really dark thought, actually. If she's real, who would the people be down here? Well, maybe they're the people who were experimented on, right? The people who were part of the Noah 2 development and whatever subsequent things are, right? Oh, great. Like, I should know her name. Is it Seiko? The long-haired girl I liked in Chaos Head. Like, her mom. She snapped because she had a baby that she became deluded into believing was alive when it was dead. And then eventually she saw what was going on and she it said that she had taken her own life, right? What if she didn't? What if she was spirited away somewhere out of sight where her madness could just kind of fester? Wouldn't it make sense if she were down here? Oh, I really don't like that. Actually, that's really creepy. Creak, creak. The sound of the creaking old carriage got closer and closer as the woman passed near us. Kunosato-san was right. Her eyes were hazy and out of focus, and she didn't seem to notice us, but she was only a meter away. Hold. Hold steady. Slowly, slowly. She sang as she pushed the carriage right past us. Shut up! Uto was so terrified his body started to spasm. He gave a small cry. Oh no. Buckle up, everyone. This is gonna get jump scary. Where is she? The woman stopped right in front of us and slowly turned around. Her empty eyes stared at us, and then slowly, jerkily, like a broken machine, she tilted her head. Like that, right? It's the cracked angle. We clung to the wall and held our breath, unable to move a muscle. We were too scared to even close our eyes. Can't take this anymore. I want out. I want to get away from here. If I stay here another minute, I'm gonna go crazy. Don't breathe. It's like the sleep, it's like the weeping angels. You don't blink, don't breathe, don't live. Just don't exist for a little while. The woman stared at us for what felt like hours. But then she looked forward once more as if nothing had happened and started to walk again. That implies that she's a real thing, and that's actually scary. I thought it was going to be a delusion, and it might still be technically. Delusions in this world can be real-ish. Yeah. We almost collapsed to the ground in relief. We couldn't take our eyes off of her as she disappeared into the darkness.
自分たちがどういう場所にいるのか少しは分かったか?
No. Understand? No. Comprehend, though? I'd say yes. We at least understand the danger we're in. Even though we'd all been crushed by the terror, Kunosato-san had been completely calm the whole time. Because she's awesome!
帰りたいと泣いても、もう遅いからな。
Huh.
そこが目的の部屋だ。
Okay. I'm not sure I can get behind her attitude, honestly. She's real rough around the edges, but man, she's cool. I can highly respect her. But at this stage, I'm not quite sure I would want to be her friend. Like, she's almost like a beautiful work of art. Like, you can respect it. You have reference for it, even. But you also wouldn't want it in your living room. Does that make sense? Maybe that'll change. Maybe she'll have, like, I'm a real girl type of moment with, like, Pinocchio, where she actually, like, has some emotions that aren't just her manipulating people and being angry at people. But for now, yeah. Kunosato-san moved away from the wall and stared straight ahead of us.
目的の部屋?
Yes, that room. I followed her gaze to a pair of double doors in the darkness. They were different than the others. They looked like the doors of a normal lab.
来い。遅れるな。
Kunosato-san headed toward the door, seeming completely unafraid. I bet she is, but she's just better at controlling herself. Setika's legs were shaking too much for her to move, so Ito and I helped her as we followed. When we got to the door, Kunosato-san took out what looked like a keycard from her skirt pocket. This door had a modern electronic lock, unlike the others we'd seen so far. She put the keycard up to the reader, the door swung open silently. She disappeared into the room, we quickly followed her. Here we go. Here we go. Reveal time. What have they been up to? Give me even a glance. Let me craft some theories. Come on. We all gasped when we entered the room. An entire wall of the room was lined with monitors. Oh, wait a minute. This looks a lot like the room that was at the top of the tower for Nozomi. Like the room where like the council, or like those council members who were trying to work against the council, would talk to everyone. They were probably set up to observe something, but every one of them was off, so there's no way to tell what that was. But it was hard to believe that someone would set up something like this in a normal hospital. Dude, normal hospital? Okay, I guess we are under a normal hospital technically. If like even then it could be considered normal. But yeah, dude, the Captain Obvious here.
Oi.
Kunosato-san turned toward Ito and gave him an order in a flat, emotionless voice.
見張りくらいはやってもらおう。ドアの外の音に注意してろ。誰か来たら知らせるんだ。
了解。
Kunosato-san nodded and looked around the room, then headed straight for the computer. She took a look at the wiring behind it and flipped the power switch. Funnily enough, this does almost look like something from Steins Gate right here. God, her hair's cool. It must be a pain to take care of. The machine started to make a low noise.
動くんですか?
見ればわかるだろ
う。でも、勝手に立ち上げたりして大丈夫なんすかね?
As opposed to what? Asking permission? What else would we do?
どうして?
だって、ネットで繋がってたりしたら、動かしてることバレるんじゃ。
心配ない。こいつがスタンドアローンだということは確認してある。
I mean, it's probably not a true guarantee because you could always jerry-rig something, but she probably looked at the back of the wires and confirmed there's no Ethernet cable. But standalone, a term referring to when a computer is isolated from any other computers or networks. Before the spread of modems and the internet, almost all home PCs were considered standalone. However, outside the few special cases, standalone machines are practically never seen anymore due to the sheer convenience of the internet. I mean, you also, again, could, like, just unplug it. Granted, having something that's truly standalone, like that's never networked before with any other computer or system, that would be a struggle, because even in the factory, they're going to like test it and probably link it up to make sure it would function. But apart from that, you could make a standalone if you wanted to. It's just be like, what tasks would you find that useful to do? Oh, that explains it. If that's true, at least we won't have to worry about someone seeing it from the outside.
お前たちが思いつくようなことを私が考えないとでも思ったのか。バカにするなよ。
Alright, I get you're like a genius and probably talking in French with Kurisu, but like, how would we know that? All we know is you hang out with a detective. Granted, we could assume you would know things, but you're talking to us like we already know who you are. She was as obnoxious as ever. Neither of us know the first thing about you, though, so could you really blame us? Was something that neither Ito or I could say. But oh, look at all these monitors. Oh, that's cool. Like if they all turned on, that'd be creepy too. The OS on the computer booted up. He looked at the screen and saw Kunosato-san entering some kind of password. How'd she know? The password was accepted and the screen filled with several folders. She opened them up and began carefully checking the contents of each one. Unfortunately, many of the files were written in English, who had no idea what they said. Kunosato-san, however, was reading through each one and nodding.
これはフォルダ自体にパスがかかってるな。ということはこの先か。
Oh. She seemed to be trying to unlock the password at incredible speed.
なんだよ。
彼女、学校で見たことあるか？
いや、どうしてだ？
Yeah, I know, right?
学校にいたんだよ。うちの制服着て。だから、うちの生徒のはずなんだけど。そうか。お前も見たことないのか？
マジかよ、それ。
It's like, why are you asking about this? Ito seemed more shocked than I expected.
嘘だろ。こんな美人、俺がチェックしてなかっただとは。
Alright, Ito, at least we have similar aesthetic appreciation. Not only was she attractive, she seemed incredibly smart, and she had an arrogant attitude that made her nothing like the other students. If she'd been coming to school, she would have stood out in both good and bad way. But Ito didn't know her?
何を調べてるんですか?
Sedeka asked the question both Ito and I had been afraid to ask. I was sure she'd been told to shut up, but...
この施設で何が行われていたかだよ。
That implies that the facility is like shut down, like it was here, but now it's just kind of in a standby mode? She answered Sedeka's question much more easily than I'd expected. And maybe I could ask something too.
この施設って病院とは何か関係が？
Bro, I'm not sure that was a great question.
黙ってろと言っただろうが。
Alright then. Dang it! Why am I getting treated so differently? Is it because Sedeka's a girl? Maybe, but also she seems to have a particular dislike of you for some reason. If she's one of, you know, those types? What? Okay, dude. What a weird leap of logic to make. The world isn't broken up into people you hate and people you have crushes on. That's not how that works. Don't tell me she's normally dresses and acts like a boy. That would explain why Ito didn't know her. And it would also be perfectly understandable considering you know plenty of guys at school who wander around with hair that's past their butt. Because that's totally a thing you just happened to not notice. Kunosato-san ignored me and typed in a series of commands and opened what looked like a top secret file. And then...
Jared.
She smiled for the first time that I'd seen and clicked on a file. And then something appeared on the screen. Oh, lovely. Is it going to be Jellyman 2.0? It's two bears high-fiving! Although with the red, they look like two roosters high-fiving. But that's totally that's what it is. We all know it. That's two bears high-fiving. I don't care what the game tries to tell me. It has brought this up before as it's the Rorschach test, and it was definitely there before. Oh yeah, it's even in the corner there. But you know what's kind of interesting? Now that I'm thinking about it and being a little bit more objective, it's a Rorschach test, right? It's about what you see in the pattern. It's a stretch, but it kind of looks like a face as well. And if you take the black bears and try and think of them as faces, or at least parts of faces, I wonder if you could see a two-faced sumo in here. Like, obviously you'd have to add a lot to make it be that, but it's possible that might be what they're going for here, at least a little bit. But yeah, no. Everyone knows that's two bears high-fiving. It's the best. It's just what it is. It was a strange picture drawn in ink and paint.
何これ？落書き？
Yeah, what's interesting here is the fact that apparently in a locked folder, like an inaccessible folder, they have a Rorschach picture. This is not like an uncommon picture, but there's something about it. I think about it, actually. You have these cross hitches here, and in the red, you also have these strange ribbons and again cross hitches here. That could imply that there's something hidden in the image itself. I think it's like if I took this and I played with it inside my video, like into Photoshop, and tried to like working the contrast, I wonder if I'd be able to see something else in here. Because this has hallmarks of like some kind of image hidden inside, and maybe that's the idea of this setup. The first setup was like working with delusions by kind of manipulating the blind spot. Maybe this one's about subliminal messaging, like introducing delusions based on looking at a picture and having like a subconscious program sent into your brain. Maybe that's what they're gonna do here.
いや違う。あれは。
I've seen this somewhere before. That is.
そうか。ロールシャッハテストだ。
So you'd be like, yeah, of course it is, idiot. It's up here at the corner. I remembered reading about them in an issue of Cool Cat Press.
ほう。抜けた顔しているが、最低限の知識はあるようだな。
Okay, that's very rude. Like, why do you gotta say my face looks dumb? I wasn't sure that was a compliment or an insult. The answer is yes.
ロールシャッハテスト？
あれだ。確か性格診断かなんかの。
Originally, Rorschach was testing the subliminal. He was basically saying that the way people respond to ambiguous shapes, especially the same ambiguous shapes, and how different those responses were, he felt had a data set in there. That you tracked enough responses, you'd be able to differentiate different things, and then he was hoping that if you could like track kind of data sets of people who responded to with certain answers to certain stimuli, which is like the various ink blots he came up with, that you would then be able to categorize, and it would help detect patterns of personality. Like, for instance, he would say, oh, you see two bears high-fiving. That says you're this kind of person. You know, clearly, brilliantly intelligent, handsome. Yeah, no. Sorry. I can't even do a bit. Like, I just, like, inside I start cringing. I just can't do it. But that's the idea. The, like, people who are extroverted will see, like, a man's face, where an introvert sees two bears, you know, like, whatever that is. That's the idea. It's like, he felt if he could do enough data sets, it would tell him things about people's, like, base nature and subconscious just by, like, gathering enough points of data.
そう。インクのシミでできた全く意味のない図形が何に見えるかで、その人の性格や思考が分析できるんだ。
正確に言えば、インクのシミを落とした紙を真ん中で折り曲げ、それで生じた左右対称の図形を使う。
Interesting. I guess that makes sense because like a lot of Rorschachs are symmetrical. But I didn't realize that was like a fundamental part of it. I just thought it was a good way to make like randomized ink blot patterns. Just like Kurosato-san said, all the pictures on the screen were almost perfectly symmetrical.
ただし、ロールシャッハテスト自体、果たして精神分析法として有効かどうか、疑問視もされているんだがな。
Yeah, again, it was one of those things where like he collected lots of data with it, and other scientists have tried to as well, like psychologists, and it just doesn't derive any meaningful data. There's very little predictive element to it, and the predictive models that they built with these data sets they were very inconsistent and not much more accurate than just, talking to somebody and getting a read on them. And so it became something very inert. Now we've tried to develop other systems that do similar things, basically providing data sets, but a lot of it gets sucked into pseudoscience, where you're basically telling people how great they are, but also trying to make them feel unique and special. A lot of those like personality tests you take, even the ones that are fancy that take money, very few of them have any marketable or, scientific meaning. Not that they're bad. If anything, being reflective of yourself and thinking about things in like unique ways and maybe considering different points of view, it's always healthy. But don't put too much stock in that stuff. At least not yet. We haven't found anything really meaningful in that space quite yet. Kunosato-san was studying the screen intently. Oh, granted, I'm talking like I know all this. Based on what I learned about this stuff from my time in school, we haven't learned anything super significant. I feel like if we did, we would see a lot more like distribution of these types of tests, more widely and in a more official capacity. Anyway, she was staring at the screen intently.
ってことは、ここはその上にある精神科と同じような施設だったということですか?
It is kind of, but it's more of a like gigalomaniac ward. And like I said, I'm guessing that those pictures, because of the distinctive cross-hatching I was seeing that doesn't look like any Rorschach I've seen, it's meant to be subliminal programming. If that was the case, I could imagine what these monitors were there for. They were to look at each of the patient rooms. That would mean that this was a medical facility that treated illnesses. At least that's what I wanted it to mean. Because it also could be a jail. That thing that Seneca and I had seen as a child. The strange atmosphere that we'd sensed. And the voice, which I could still hear in my ears. Yeah, there's like the girl with the like long pink hair. Like again, she's got like a ribbon. Oh, there's two. Look at that. There's a second girl. Do you see that? Are there actually two girls here or what? Like that's very subtle. I don't think I'd noticed that before. But you see the other girl phase in and out when these guys come into focus. Otherwise, it's just a blur. Huh. But yeah, I was wondering if this might be... What was her name? Is it... Oh... It's not Rika. I keep thinking Rika, but I don't think that's it. Like... Gosh darn it. I feel so bad because like it's been just long enough. I haven't played the first game, which is sad because I rolled straight into it. But I can't remember character names. I'm checking. I can't believe I have to do this. Rimi. It is Rimi. Not Rika, it's Rimi. Like, could this be Rimi? I don't think she had that hairstyle quite right, but like, I mean, she was being tested in a facility very much like this, and although no, I don't think it could have been Rimi because she escaped before the earthquake, and this I think was supposed to have happened after the earthquake, because well, I guess he and Seneca had stuck into this when they were kids. I assumed it was after the earthquake, but maybe it was before. And if it was before, then it could be Rimi technically. But yeah, no, it looks like there's two girls here. We had abandoned her and ran away from this place. So if all that wasn't some kind of torture chamber and this place was actually curing her, Seneca and I would be free of the guilt that had been with us for so long. But my hopes...
違う。ここはそんな生優しい場所じゃない。
We were quickly dashed by Kunosato-san's answer. At least she's giving us one. She opened another folder. It was filled with reports written in Japanese this time.
センスへの断続的刺激による臨床実験。ロブスに与える電気信号とフェノメノン。
Oh gosh. Intermittent pulses to the senses. I'm guessing electrical, or it could be sound-based. But they say electrical afterwards, so it's probably, yeah, electrical signals that affect the lobes and their phenomena. They're basically doing electroshock therapy to the brain. Oh, that probably means those diodes were actually placed into her skull. That hat she was wearing, it wasn't just like putting like shockers on her head. They probably were like spears that had electrodes on them in her brain that they were then shocking.
思った通り、ここでは脳科学方面からのアプローチによる臨床実験が行われていたようだな。
A brain science approach. That's probably why Kudoshi was getting involved, right? Because that would involve a lot of her specialty.
脳科学 臨床実験って？
うるさい。余計な口を挟むな。
でも、僕のよく知ってる子がここにいたかもしれないんです。
何？
Yeah, she'd be like, wait, what? I lied. I didn't know who she was. But I thought if I didn't lie, then Kunosada-san would never tell me anything. I don't know. This might not work as a thumbnail, but it would like a good thumbnail, wouldn't it? Like, it looks so creepy. Just as I expected, when she turned around, I saw the first faint glimmerings of interest in me on Kunosada's face. I gave her a brief description of what I had witnessed here so long ago. Kunosada-san bit her lip. Her expression was different than before. But then she forced herself to look back at the computer.
はあ。それは間違いなく人体実験だ。
Dang.
人体実験
No, that means... Okay, so this crown, now that I'm getting a better look at it, it reminds me of an iron halo, actually. Now, she has headphones on, too, that are, so it is, like, maybe sound-based, too. These don't look like they're spears that go into her brain. They look like they are, like I said, the iron halo. I had a friend who was skiing, and he crashed into a tree, and he broke his neck. Luckily, they were able to get him first aid, that they kept his neck stable, and they got him to the hospital, so that he didn't end up having any nerve damage. But it meant he couldn't move his neck. He needed to let the bones and vertebrae heal. So they put him in one of these, where they literally had like an iron ring around his head that had all these things, and they did drill into his skin to the bone to hold his head perfectly still, so he couldn't bend his neck even accidentally. And it was harnessed around his his torso, and I guess he had to even learn how to sleep with it or something. It was insane. And that's what they put her in right here. So this would be horrific if that's all it is. And then I'm guessing there's some kind of electricity going on because they've talked about that in the paper. And again, it looks like there's two people in here, not just one. And that means she was... The horrible vision started to eat away at me again.
簡単に言えば人間の脳をいじる実験だよ。
Yeah, screwing around, literally.
脳をいじるって、そんな。
だから言っただろ。ここはそんな生優しい場所じゃないと。
Oh yeah, it's so much worse. Kunosada-san was trying to keep her face as expressionless as possible. And then, the second she opened up another file, she gasped a little. I could see the words on the screen as well.
ちょっと待て。
Oh, what does it say? What does it say? What's in the box? She was completely focused on reading the report. I'm so into it. I'm so invested. So she didn't notice that I was looking over her shoulder as well.
超感覚的知覚に関する臨床実験。特殊な事象異変を発現させるための具体的傾向。
Oh, clinical trials for extrasensory perception. The psychics we've been seeing, all of them were believing they had extrasensory perception and expression of special event variations. That'd be like the audio bleed girl, how her music was hypnotizing, right? Yeah, or being able to take pictures, psychic pictures. Yeah, okay. So they studied this stuff, and now they're tracking down people exhibiting these things and like killing them for some reason. What were event variations? Kunosato-san clicked on the mouse and moved to the next page. I read along with her.
視覚刺激による発症的中率 9.25%.
Whew. Pathogenesis via visual stimulation. Accuracy rating 9.25%. Okay, pathogenesis. I'm not 100% like patho as a root. I'm trying to think of any like Latin words I know that uses patho. Like path could be like roadway or like, you know, a direction to get to a conclusion. Patho, I feel like it does mean something. Genesis means origin or the origin. Patho meaning. Patho is a prefix derived from Greek meaning suffering, disease, or feeling. Widely used in medical and scientific terminology to indicate a connection to illness or pathological states, such as the pathogen, diseased agent, pathology, study of disease. Great. So patho is suffering, disease, or feeling, and genesis. So genesis of patho, so the beginning of feeling sick or ill or like, so the beginning of being ill via visual stimulation, accuracy rating 9.25. So almost 10% of the time they could use some kind of visual to trigger an event. And pathogenesis could be a term they're depicting for people manifesting these powers, right? So maybe that's the experiment. If they try to artificially trigger, maybe it's alternative ways to turn people into gigalomaniacs, either to activate people who could become gigalomaniacs, or to even potentially begin the transformation or the activation of people who normally would not be able to be activated. Gigalomaniacs used to be a very specific set of circumstances that some random people happen to manifest into powers, right? What if they're trying to artificially make it so they can make anybody whom they want a gigalomaniac? That would make a lot of sense. And maybe they experimented on random public people, right? And they experimented on them by giving them some kind of visual stimulation that activated it. They watched and waited until they manifest powers, and then they clean up their mess by killing them before people can figure out what's going on, or they can get too powerful with these abilities, right? That's what I bet you it is. And if it's visual stimulation, maybe the Rorschach tests are part of it. Remember I talked about how I thought the cross-hatching indicated there was something hidden, like a hidden message? Maybe it's almost like you use the Rorschach test as an excuse to get people to focus on a picture for an extended period of time, and in that way, it subconsciously starts opening up that door, basically giving them a D-sword, but an artificial one. Maybe one they don't actually perceive as a sword, but mostly just this idea of like the mind starting to utilize gaps in perception to become gigalomaniacs. And it has an accuracy of nearly 10%. Think about that. 1 out of 10 people, well, probably more likely, realistically, it's 9 out of 100 people that you show these tests to begin to develop powers. That's a huge percentage of a population.
中の辺縁系ニューロンのドーパミン分泌の誘発による発現
Dopamine emission in the central limbic system. Yeah, that sounds very similar to what they described of activating a gigalomaniac.
視床下部損傷と切除発症見られず
Oh gosh.
思考のトレースリモートビューイング妄想の増幅による事象への影響
Oh my gosh. Holy crap. Damage or removal of the hypothalamic area. No pathogenesis seen. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus. I used to know what that was. Again, it's been a while since I've been to school, but I know this. I think the hypothalamus is where the two hemispheres of your brain connect. Hypothalamus. It's a small almond-sized region at the base of the brain, below the thalamus and above the pituitary gland, that acts as the body's main control center for homeostasis. Oh, so what am I talking about? Hypothalamus is the stuff that keeps you breathing without you having to think about it. It's the stuff that helps you swallow your food and makes your digestion keep going. It's the stuff that gets your heart beating, that makes you breathe, like all the stuff you have to do to live that you don't think about. It handles it all. So you get damage or removal of the hypothalamic area. No pathogenesis seen. But that's because they're dead. Thought tracing, remote viewing, influencing on events via amplified delusions. Over half the report was filled with specialized language that didn't really understand. But by desperately connecting the words I did know, I managed to make some sense out of the report. And...
まさか、そんなことが。
They're talking about designing what he's going to call psychics, but they're actually gigalomaniacs. They had that keyword there too. Influence events via amplified delusions. I was stunned. Was that really possible? The girl who'd cried for us to help was being experimented on here. And the point of those experiments was...
人間の脳をいじって、超常的な特殊能力を発症させる実験?
Mm-hmm. That explained why Shoujo-san and Kunosato-san were talking about psychics. And that was the commonality I'd suspected was lurking behind the murders.
Oi.
Yeah, here's the thing. The commonality, the thing is there. They were the experiments that worked. And then had to be eliminated. Kunosato-san caught me looking and threatened me in a low voice. But I didn't have time to worry about that.
これ本当なんですか? こんな SF みたいなことが本当に...
She looked unhappy but gave in.
実験自体は随分と前から行われていたようだ。というよりも、この病院自体がその実験のカモフラージュのために建てられたと考えてもいい。
Holy crap. Yeah, I mean, the implication of is that the reason why that seems legitimate to me, this seems to be the oldest part of the hospital. And it's underground. Do you know how hard, especially in Tokyo, it would be to somehow secretly install underground facilities in a building that's being used? The only way you could really do it is to put it in first and build on top of it.
この病院が?
ああ。
それで、今は?
はあ?
今は行われてるんですか? その実験。
If that's true, then she's still here.
いや、ある出来事をきっかけに中止されたらしい。
Oh yeah, the earthquake. When Takumi from first game, basically destroyed them. A certain event.
中止されたのはちょうど6年前。2009年11月6日。
Yeah, 11/6/2009.
それって、
渋谷地震の日。
地震のせいで研究どころじゃなくなったのか。
I wonder if she's gonna reveal to them that it wasn't an earthquake? Because that would be very interesting.
いや違うな。この病院は震源域の外だ。被害は全く受けていない。
じゃあどうして?
だからそれを探って。
Kunosato-san stopped short and clicked her tongue. She must have decided that she'd told us too much.
いいからおとなしくしていろ。
She pushed me away from the screen lightly. It looked like she didn't want me to read anymore.
これは?
Kunosato-san's hand froze on the mouse. She was staring intently at the screen. Come on, check it. Then she started to talk to herself.
11番目のロールシャッハが脳に与える影響。11番目?
The 11th. The one we saw before, I don't think that was the 11th. I think it was the 2nd. She just knocked me away so I couldn't see the screen, but I couldn't help but lean forward. Her voice was just that strange.
どうしたんですか?
Shut up, dude!
ロールシャッハテストには10種類の絵しか存在しない。11番目なんて聞いたことも。
Oh.
だから黙ってろお前。
Oh, interesting. 10 Rorschach's originals, but he had a very interesting one with the 11th. Something so powerful. Maybe Rorschach himself hit it, or the powers that be hit it. Kunosato-san turned around and glared at me. When she did, I caught a glimpse on the monitor. 8, 9, 10. The screen is filled with thumbnails of different Rorschach tests. Yeah, this is 10. I was counting them and I counted them right. I kind of want to like see all of them. What is this? This one's really interesting. I'm not sure if I've seen this one before. What would I say of it? Like, it's weird. Like, I think it's going to be really weird, but I can't help but think about the pelvis bone of a human. Like here's the pelvis. Here's like the spine coming up from the top. And like the base of the legs. And the stuff on the side obviously doesn't quite match, but it's just like the first thing I thought of and I couldn't think of it. And especially right there in the middle, it looks like a wishbone, which I don't think humans have, but it just looks like bones to me. Interesting. The screen was filled with thumbnails of different Rorschach tests. And Kunosato-san was just about to click on the mysterious 11th Rorschach. Oh, yeah, wait. If the 11th has some kind of power, do we want to see it? Kunosato-san clicked to open the file. It's gonna be the double face sumo, isn't it? When she did. Holy crap. Confidential. God, I got the chills. It's the sumo sticker. It's the sumo sticker shape, but with definition. Holy crap. So someone's been putting this like mind-bending Rorschach test everywhere. Because I bet you what they did is they took this image and they slowly manipulated it, tightening it up, figuring out how much they could twist it or change it without people being like, without taking away the mysterious effect it has on the brain, right? And as they did, they slowly coalesced it into the two-faced sumo sticker. And that is a way to try and program people. In fact, I always had wondered this. In the first game, it seemed like the Nozomi devices were really, really, really good at influencing people, right? Like being able to just make a horde of zombie people out of nowhere. And we know that these stickers were going out before the earthquake. Do you think that perhaps, in order to help stir up the mass hysteria, which is what they needed to activate the Noah 2, maybe the seeds they planted were these stickers that people might casually see, even without like cognitively being aware of them, and it primes them somehow that made them susceptible to the Noah 2. Of course, that means now that we've seen this picture, we're going to be more susceptible to delusions. What appeared on the screen was... I had no idea what was going on. I felt sick. I couldn't stand. I collapsed to the floor. I felt like something was crawling up from the bottom of my intestines. That something was bugs. Tiny, slimy bugs with all their little feet were crawling up from my stomach into my throat, scattering disgusting fluids before them as they moved. Can you imagine seeing a picture and reacting like this? That'd be crazy. The disgusting crawling sensation passed through my throat and out to my mouth. What the hell were these things? Stop it, help me. I feel sick, help me. Get out of my body.
Taku?
Oh, why are you sounding creepy now? God, that's horrible sounding.
タク、しっかりしてよ。タクってば。
Is it affecting her differently? Like, we feel like we're dying. Sadaka turns into this sweetheart. Like, pure happy joy. Is that what's going on? Huh? Did I fall asleep? No, that's not it. I looked at the screen and suddenly felt sick. And then passed out? Where am I? My head feels horribly cold.
なんだか気持ちがいいね。
What? I just heard Sadaka's voice. But I can't see her. Where am I?
ほら見て見て。しんちゃんったらあんな格好になってる。
Oh no. Ito's here?
私とタクもお揃いだね。
Well, matching? What is she talking about? Are we gonna be covered in blood? His blood? When I looked up at the side and saw it, my head cleared instantly. Oh gosh. Sadako was next to me, lying in the same kind of seat I'd seen the girl in Vision sitting in. What was strange was her head. There was something on top of it, slimy and pink. No, that wasn't it. That was... Oh no. That was her brain. Oh no! The top of Sadako's skull is completely gone, with several electrodes sticking out of what remained. Suddenly I hear a high-pitched voice from the other side. We all went crazy. I took some time before I realized that the voice belonged to Ito. And that's how insane it sounded. Oh gosh. Like, yeah, I was talking about the spikes in the brain and electroshock thing. This is that. They probably actually did this to people, though. I couldn't tell if Ito was screaming in pain or pleasure. His brain was exposed, and part of it seemed to be missing.
気持ちいいね、タク。
Oh gosh. I don't know which one's worse. I tried to move, but I was held down tight and couldn't budge. Mio. I heard a cold voice from above my head. The voice was...
今すぐお前もあいつのようにしてやる。だから
Oh no.
じっとしているがいい。
Oh no. Something cold touched my head. At least that's how it felt. It felt good. Like my brain was going to melt. And soon I wasn't sure when I ended and the rest of the world began. This feels really weird. Look at the capital N. I wonder what the Japanese was there. Like, how did they do that? Did it change from, like, one form to another? And that felt too reminiscent of the Taku in the first game trying to fight the Noah 2. Like, that's very similar. Where am I? Am I back in the basement?
タク、大丈夫？
あ、大丈夫だ。起きられるか？ほら。
Ito slowly helped me to my feet.
軽い。僕、どうしたんだ？
うん、画面にね、例の怖いシールがいきなりアップになったからびっくりしたんだよ。それで転んでタクは頭を打っちゃって。
そうか。
I rubbed the back of my head, and sure enough, there was a big bump. Kunosada-san was staring at me from the front of the screen. I thought she was going to complain again, but instead she pulled me up to look at the screen.
確かめてもらいたいことができた。来い。
I wonder if she's like recognized like we had a strong reaction to the Rorschach, and that might imply that we're a gigalomaniac. She might be connecting those dots.
あのシールなら許してください。なんか気分が優れなくて。
いや、あれじゃない。いいから来い。
She's being suddenly cooperative though, so I think she's figured something like about us now.
見るなって言ったり見ろって言ったり。
Don't complain. You wanted to look.
なんだ。
わかりましたよ。
Since it was clear she wasn't going to take no for an answer, I stood next to her.
お前に確認してほしいのはこのファイルだ。
Okay. Kunosada-san tapped on the report at the screen with her nails.
11番目のロールシャッハ。さっきの画像に何らかの効果があるとみなされて、 初めて実験に使用されたのが2007年とある。
2007, huh? 2 years before the earthquake. 2007 was 2 years before the Shibuya earthquake. Thanks, game. That was right about the time people started to see sumo stickers, if I remembered right. And that was the same year we snuck into here to find out the truth about the urban legend of Ami-chan. Okay, yeah, so it was before the earthquake. That makes sense. So it could have been Rimi. I don't think so, though. It didn't look like her. So unless they drastically changed her look for this game or for that particular scene, I think it might have been somebody else. I took the mouse to read the next part.
自称変異を起こす素養を持つ存在のみが、人の顔を模したように見える11番目の画像に対し、通常の人間とは異なる反応を示す。そのことが判明した。
So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's simply a screen. Like I was thinking all kinds of crazy theories, but maybe it's just a screen. Put up the stickers, you see who responds to them, like you watch it with a camera. You see who responds weirdly, and you mark them as a potential gigalomaniac. It would explain how Nozomi was able to gather so many gigalomaniacs so quickly and all being around the same age, right?
この症状が最初に観測されたのは、被験体番号第79号、南沢千里からであり。
Senri? Oh my gosh, really? Then I stopped scrolling down the screen. There's a picture of the girl there.
どうだ？その子に見覚えがあるか？
Yeah, it's her, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So she was the first, or at least the first of this particular branch of the, like... Wait a minute. Wait. I just... Minamisawa Senri. Wait a minute. Wait. Is Minami... Am I crazy? Is Minami-san the name that's Kurusu, like Kurusu's friend that she goes to the pillar and looks at, right? That wasn't Senri, right? I mean, it's possible, right? No, I don't know if I remember. I keep names straight in my head. This girl, it's definitely going to be the girl we saw, though. Remember her? That was the girl. That was the girl we saw that day. But wait, no, okay. I don't think that could be the case, because if it were her friend died in the earthquake, so that would mean that she was being tested on 2 years before. So what, she was just living a normal life and occasionally getting tested on down here? That doesn't make sense. But I don't think it's Rimi either. Because I almost want to, so Rimi... Chaos Head. It's Rimi, what's her name? Sakihata. And that's not the same name at all. Like, Rimi Sakihata. Yeah, different person. Okay. I think I'm just completely wrong. I think that was the girl who also saw us and begged for help. Kunosato-san looked at me.
さっき話していたこの施設にいたかもしれない友達というのはこの子なんだな。
Yeah.
はい。
I wasn't sure how to answer, but I decided to keep up the lie that she was my friend. The truth was, I'd only now learned her name was Minamisawa Senri.
そうか。
But Kunosato-san looked very sad. I don't know. I didn't know she was even capable of looking that way. She shared the picture of Minamisawa Senri on the screen.
私はお前のことを嫌いだが、ここで苦しんでいた友達をずっと忘れないでいることには敬意を払ってもいい。
Aww. Yeah, why does she not like him? Like, I don't get, like, this unilateral dislike she has for him. Especially because now, like, the idea that the 11th Rorschach has the potential to react differently with people who have potential to be, you know, gigalomaniacs. And the fact that that means I was about to say that Taku here is probably gigalomaniac. That was a given, but that also means Setika is probably one because she's also very much had a different reaction to those ever since the beginning. Her eyes grew just a little softer. But I felt a cold sweat as I looked at them. It wasn't out of friendship that I'd never been able to forget that girl's name, Minamisawa Senri. It was because she was my nightmares. But I couldn't say that. All I could do was try to make it hard to tell what I was really thinking.
本当は救いたかったのに、それができなかった。でも、それは仕方のないことだ。気に病むことはない。
I get the feeling you're talking more about yourself than him. Did you want to save somebody and couldn't?
そうじゃない。違うんだ。
I had been too afraid to save her. I had abandoned her.
今、彼女はどうしているんだろう。
Yeah, that'd be nice to know. Kunosato-san didn't realize what I was thinking, though. She called up more data on the girl called Minamisawa Senri.
彼女は11番目の画像で特殊な兆候を見せた被験者としてかなり強引な実験を受けていたようだ。でも、死ぬことなく生き延びた。
She survived. Forceful experiments. The kind that could kill you? When I heard that, I almost threw up. I did my best to keep Kunosato-san from finding out.
だが、渋谷地震の時に運悪く震源域に居合わせて、それ以降は行方不明ということになっているな。
I see.
行方不明？
いや、正確には、この実験施設が地震の直後に機能を終えてしまったため、彼女に関するデータが存在しないというのが正しい。ただ、地震の犠牲になった可能性は高いな。
That's fair. But are we going to gloss over the fact that there's apparently people still down here? Like, first of all, we followed people down here. So somebody's living off the dregs of whatever was here. Like, picked up the bones of Nozomi. Secondly, they have, like, the weird, like, people in the cell and, like, the lady walking around with the carriage. Like, who are they?
そうですか。
It was horrible, but felt a little less like throwing up. At the very least, she hadn't died because of the experiments or because we'd abandoned her. Hearing that made me feel like I'd been forgiven a little. A violent sense of self-hatred overcame me again.
ごめん。南沢、千里さん。
She'd been practically tortured here as part of those experiments, and then she'd been caught in the earthquake. But Suddenly, I felt something tugging at the edge of my memories.
南沢さん?
Oh, was I right? Was I right that that is the girl that, like, was friends with Kurusu? Haven't I heard that name somewhere before? But then where and from who?
あれ？でも...
Before I could think about it any further, Ito spoke up hesitantly.
なんだ？
この実験施設、機能を終えたっておかしいですよ。その割にあちこちに人がいましたよね。それに小さな女の子も。
Yes, exactly.
そうだよね。
俺たち、その女の子を追ってここへ来たんです。ここが廃棄された施設って言うんなら、あの子、一体何を？
ああ、そのことか。
Kunosato-san closed the file on Minamisawa Senri and her face took on its usual cool, emotionless expression.
ここは今、実験中にトラブルのあった被験者たちの保護施設として使われている。
Oh, great. Just great.
実験中にトラブルのあった被験者?
It means they didn't do too well. They're a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but in the probably psychotic murdery way.
実験に失敗して脳に損傷を負ったり、正気を失った感情。程度によって軟禁、もしくは監禁しておくための地下収容所ということだ。
But They also all are people who have potential to be gigalomaniacs. An insane person who has the potential to be a gigalomaniac sounds terrifying. Cold chill ran through my body.
Masaka, そんなことって。
ありえねえ。
ひどい。
目的のためならどんなことでもやる連中がいる。お前たちが相手にしているのはそういう連中なんだ。だから最初に警告してやったろ。
Yep. Just great. Kunosato-san opened another file.
これで見る限り、現在でも20名近くの人間がここにいるようだな。
Sheesh. She scrolled down the page and a new picture appeared.
待ってください。その子。
Oh. Oh, so she's one of the people being kept. Oh my gosh. Maybe all the people we saw. Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. I just said that, didn't I? That people are being stayed here. They're crazy people, but they're crazy people who might be gigalomaniacs. What if they were in here? The earthquake happens, shuts down Nozomi, right? They all fall apart. Their hierarchy fell to pieces and all that. They leave these crazy people. What if some of these crazy people are slightly more functional? What if the time they're given allows them to be more effective, to be able to manifest their own abilities and understand them better? What if they are now on the hunt somehow? Holy crap. And then Yamazoa Yuki. Oh, we almost have the same birthday. Rank A. God, I'm getting really tired. Oh, attending Dr. Norose. Oh my gosh! Holy crap. Wait, was Norose actually more involved in this than I thought? I thought he was a fairly innocent bystander, but it seems like he was more involved. What the fetch? Okay, we're gonna go a little bit longer, but I'm gonna have to stop it at a kind of awkward time because I need to stop soon. But anyway, that was a girl we've been following.
間違いないよ、タク。名前は、山添うきちゃん？
この子ももともと実験に使われた被験者だったようだな。
And also, for reference, if she's born in 2001 and we're now in 2015, then she should be 14 years old, maybe 13, depending on the birthday. Yeah, because we're like in like summer, right? Or spring. So yeah, she'd be like 13. Yep. The shattering revelation was presented to us as a mere matter of fact, as if it was the most ordinary thing imaginable. Sedeka covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes went wide. So she suffered the same fate as Minami Sawasenri. Probably different experiments, though.
幸い、彼女は最後まで正気を失うことなく実験に耐え、生き残った。今はこのフロアで、収容者たちの世話をする仕事を与えられているらしい。
Oh my gosh.
収容者たちの世話。
By who? Who's telling her to do that? I thought she was a criminal who had stolen my smartphone and threatened me. And what's more, I thought she was either connected with the killer or that maybe she was the killer herself. And now I'm not so sure.
いや、ダメだ。見かけや生い立ちに騙されちゃダメだ。あの状況だと、僕のスマホを拾えたのは彼女だけなんだ。それに、ここでの実験の被験者ということは、何らかの、その、能力者の可能性だってある。
Yeah.
解約したはずのスマホから電話してくれなんてゲート、そういう能力でもない限り不可能じゃないか。
I also like how he hasn't picked up on the fact that his reaction to the 11th Rorschach might mean something. As my mind raced, Kunosato-san was checking out every bit of data on the machine. But...
実験の結果、理想度の発言は、全被験者の 0.01% に満たず、失敗と断定。別の技術を模索すべきと結論。
Okay, two things here. First, D-sword! Oh! Second though, here's the thing. if they said they could get 0.1% of subjects to manifest a D-sword, do you know what that means? Because that data set has to represent at least one person manifesting a D-sword. Probably Rimi, right? She's manifested a D-sword. She was probably the person who survived the experimentation enough to be able to manifest it. Could have been another person too, but that's the one that comes to mind. Anyway, to get a percentage of 0.01 to represent a single person's success, and it's a percentage, that means they had to test on 10,000 subjects? Now, granted, the extent of these experiments might have been counted as like making a file of like they showed the 11th Rorschach to a potential person and then deemed that they were not responding. They said that the response time to people was like 9%, right? So maybe they have like 10,000 people they showed the Rorschach to. Of that, 9% of them responded positively, and then of that group, only one individual actually manifested a D-sword. That could make a lot more sense, so that the actual number of people that they had down here being experimented on was that 9.25%. So of the 10,000 people, 9.25% would be 90, like 92 or 925, maybe 925. A total of 925 people that they experimented on. Maybe that's what that was. In fact, maybe some of the survivors of that program are the people who have now later manifested powers that we were seeing being killed off. Maybe they're the dregs of the program.
やっぱりか。バカな科学者どもが。
Yeah. Kunosada-san sounded uncharacteristically ticked off as she closed all the folders and turned off the PC.
Disorder?
That strange word snapped at me out of my reverie. Seemed like that was what she had been looking for. I looked at her, hoping for some kind of answer, but she just glared back at me with terrifying eyes.
そろそろ時間的に限界だ。出るぞ。
Alright.
これ以上ここにいれば発見される。
でも、僕たちの目的がまだ。
お前たちは計画がずさんすぎる。この施設内の構造すら知らないのだろ。
True. She was right. I snuck in here as a child, but that was all. I didn't remember the details.
そんなことでは探したところで無駄だ。
Dang it, she's right, but there must be some way. I looked around the room and saw the rows of monitors. If they were on, I could still at least tell what was going on around the facility. Maybe they could tell us where Yamazoyuki was.
どうした、宮代。
このモニターの電源がないか探してるんだよ。こいつが使えれば、あるいは。
無駄だ。そもそも、その監視システム自体動いているのかも。
Something's about to happen. Okay, we're gonna stop here. Something's about to happen, and I want to give it my entire attention, so we're gonna have to wait till next week. I'm sorry. We've been here for a while, though. I have to get going. Oh my gosh, I just realized I'm peaking like crazy with some of this. I am so sorry. I need to tone down the microphone a bit, but it's okay. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, and yeah, definitely think that girl was the friend of Kurusu. And I had another thought. If people were down here being experimented on and being, broken and crazy, right? We know there's a strange lady in a dress with weird eyes who like drags her leg behind her, right? That we know like has been kind of wandering around. She went to like the statue and started punching it, right? And now we've got her name popping up here. What if she didn't die? What if she was injured and she's still around and that was her? What would Kurusu think if they ended up meeting again? Especially when she probably is kind of crazy. That has enough pain potential that it's probably real now. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might have actually like kind of that feels like it's a connection that is definitely going to happen. Like, it feels more likely the more I think about it. Now, granted, I could be completely wrong. I've completely misremembered or heard similar sounding names and completely juxtapositioned them, but it feels like that's intentionally. And it did imply in the narrative that that name should sound familiar. So I think I'm right there. The name Senri was the one that really stuck out. Like, I remembered that because I think that's a kind of cool name. And so I feel like that's kind of what got me back onto it. It was like the big name to start with an M, which I pretty sure is what the name on the monument that she was visiting to say goodbye to or to visit to respect was. A long name with the start with an M, and then I think Senri, because like I know I've heard that name recently, and I don't think it's in any other games I've been playing. But yeah. Anyway, that was fun. Thank you so much for joining me again. Hope you enjoyed this episode. So yeah, this week's been a little shaky bakey. I was gotten sick, and then I'm going to be away. So next week I'm just on break. I will be back, and we'll start again, in a couple weeks. But just thank you for your patience. I hope you don't mind. I will be out and about. I might share some pictures of some of the stuff I'm doing, or at least the stuff I'm seeing. I try not to share pictures with people in them. I don't want to like dox anybody or anything. And I also want to be careful because technically posting stuff like that can like make people know where you are, and that's a little creepy. So if I do take pictures, I might save them for like right for when I get home, so I'm not like accidentally doxing myself, which granted, with a community as cool as ours and how small my channel is, I doubt it's a problem, but I try and live every day as if I have 1 million subscribers, and if I did have 1 million subscribers, I would want to be careful about what I posted as well when it comes to like my physical location, just for the sake of safety. Anyway, I thank you all so much for being here today. I think you are all wonderful. I appreciate your time here with me on the channel. I look forward to reading your comments and actually being able to respond to them because I should have time now. But until the next video, you're watching me. Have to see me in next. I'll see you there.